Hello and welcome. Today, after a bit of a break yesterday, I'm back to my drakon-renderer. Many things have changed in the code in the last day. I wanted to explore what would it take to render connections so that there were no clashes. Now, you might ask, how did we get here from a diagram that looked pretty healthy last time? I think last time we had something like this. But then I started working on this issue that I created, real life diagrams, and it doesn't look too complicated, but I said that I would be worried about connections that look like this, right? So for example, a question is connected to a dependency that's an action, but it's also connected to a dependency that's underneath that action. So sure enough, the first try was not successful. When I wanted to render this block, it rendered as so. I quickly fixed the problem, but then I discovered another problem. See, this connection is replicated. Okay, question, action, next icon. In that case, it seems to be the end. What is not working is the connection here. Okay, what you can see is that it is actually being rendered. It's just underneath this line, and it just goes behind the lines and the icons. This is why we can't see it. It happens because the renderer is tasked with drawing two lines. One going from, say, this is 0, -2 to 0, -3. And the other one is tasked with, and the other task is drawing from 0, -2 to 0, -4. So the lines overlap. So I've been spending a bit of time rethinking how I draw connections so that they don't clash, they don't overlap, according to Drakon principles. And I've been playing around with many concepts. I landed here. This is not looking correct, to say the least. So what I would like to achieve now is to start figuring out what went wrong, how we can potentially resolve it. So stick with me. We'll try to do this today. So you probably remember these functions here. Render connections, render single connection, and render all connections. These are some of the functions that I put aside, and I implemented their alternatives: alternative render single connection, alternative render connections, and alternative render all connections. They are now taking the burden of generating rendered diagrams out of the connections. Let's see if this is still working. Some days ago I caught myself not recording audio. So best to check. All right, so let's get to it. Obviously, these connections are not great, and this is because I'm doing some shifting. But I need to figure out why this happens. So stick with me, grab a cup of coffee. I'm already trying my coffee, and let's grok it together. So the reason why, I know it, before I commit my answer, let's try to bring this back to a working state, and then we'll fix this. So the idea I had is that we will start tracking all the connections that we make. And if there is a new connection that would possibly overlap with something that was already rendered, we would have to find a new path. So yesterday I got stuck on this idea that the start of the connection will always have to be there, but the unshifted, but the end of the connection will possibly be shifted if the connection would overlap with the previously made connection. That is, I found out, not the case, because both start and the end of the connection need to stay fixed. So say you want to draw a connection from A to Z, and you find that another connection was already drawn exactly going through those 2 points. So what you have to do is you do not move the start and finish, you move the waypoints through which the start and finish would go. So that if, say, connection 1 is done between 2 x's, the connection 2, if it's also connecting, so let's try to illustrate it like this. If you have a connection going from X to Y, and then you want to also connect X to Z, that connection X to Z should figure out that it cannot go in the straight line because that straight line is partially already covered. It should create 2 waypoints. Waypoint x1. Am I doing it right? And something like endpoint Z1. So that connection from X to Z cannot flow like this, straight from X through Y to Z. It needs to flow from X to X1 to Z1 to Z. It needs to go like that. So yesterday I thought maybe I'll just shift the end or the start of the connection, but you can't, because it wouldn't serve the purpose of a connection. It would connect something else. So X and Z need to stay in place, but instead I need to add some waypoints. Maybe this is what I will do today. I hope this makes sense. I'll actually leave it as a comment here permanently. So that is a very clear comment that I am sure will resonate with everybody. Okay, let's see what it rendered. Okay, so now it looks slightly more correct. What I'm doing right now is I wasn't happy with this function that renders line based on the relative positions of x parts of the coordinates. x1 and x2 is equal, then draw a line like this. If x1 is lower than x2, draw a line like this. And it's this abomination. I wasn't really happy with this. So this is why I'm leaving it behind. Yeah, I do not like this. So what I'm doing right now is when I render a single connection, now I'm just connecting x1 and x2, which leads to non-idiomatic drakon connections, but at least to readable connections. So previously we had a connection from icon 2 to icon 4 going like this. straight along the x-axis and then straight along the y-axis. Now it's slightly simplified, but as you can see, the connection from, let me make it a bit larger, from icon 5 to the icon of, this is 5 prime. The connection from icon 5 prime to connection to the icon 5 goes here. And we also have another connection from hello world icon 5 prime to the end, and it goes like this. I don't want that. I want it to go like this. So I'm thinking if I detect a clash, I should add a waypoint. Okay, so it's reasonably fixed now. Now the tricky part is to detect the clash. Okay, before that happens, let's also do this. We should expect, so the length that we're outputting here is the length of all unique coordinates that are used to produce the connections that you see here. Okay, and we are expecting 13 of them. And the reason we're getting 17 is because I'm not checking the uniqueness of combination of x1, y1 and x2, y2. So I'm deleting this experimental function, and I'm just going to do adif contains, adif not contains. So adif not contains adds this combination of x and y coordinates to the collection of taken coordinates. So finish we don't have to worry about. Start and finish. Yeah, I think we're good. So now what I'm expecting when I run it is connections that look like this, but the collection of unique coordinates to produce those connections to only be of length 13. Contains, no, I don't want that. Adif not contains. Perfect, and this should look the same. Perfect. So you know what, let's leave it. We can do that later. Now, obviously, so now my idea is, instead of leaving that job to the renderer to draw a line between these two coordinates, I should draw the lines myself point by point. What it means is instead of letting the... So, okay, let's think about this connection from X to Z. Instead of letting the renderer just produce a line from X to Z, possibly going over the connection of X to Y, is to go step by step, meaning before you make any other steps, do the connection between 0, -2 to 0, -3. Is -3 taken? If it is taken, don't go that way. Go right. Okay. Is 1 -2, which is x1, taken? If it's not, use it, go down. Do z1. Is z1 taken? If not, use it, go to z. Right? So something like this. It will take a little bit of experimentation. It will not be pretty, but and possibly it will not be the final solution, but it will, I believe, get me on the right track, closer to the solution. The solution being drawing this connection x to z that doesn't overlap with the connection x to y. This is basically the problem I've been dealing with in the last couple of days. So we just need to figure out a function called start to finish and everything in between. That will take start coordinates. That will take finish coordinates. That will return a collection of undefined, unknown length of coordinates or waypoints that if you weave a line through them, you will get a correct connection. So for now, a brute force sort of idea, start, finish. It will be used here. This is an interesting hint. I've never used a bifunctor module. I'll explore this a bit later, but for now, let's stay focused on what's most important, meaning drawing the connection x to z. The length is 13, that's good. This shouldn't change, I believe. Yes, and it hasn't. Now, so here's where the magic will start. So for now, I'm not pretending I'll have any sort of validation. So this is going to define the new shape of lines. Okay, so we need to connect start coordinates with finish coordinates going icon width in the x direction and icon height in the y direction. So let's see if we can do that. Here we should have guards. What is the syntax for guards here? Let's say we want to, if those 2 points are already aligned, we want to return start finish. Otherwise, for now, we also want to return start finish. Does it have to be indented? Yeah. Oh yeah. Again, I'm not striving for perfection here. I just want an algorithm that would work and connect Z and X, or X to Z. Then I can iterate on it and improve it. Brackets. Oh, of course. Sorry about that. Okay. So say you want to run an experiment. And let's call it. I'll probably find a smart formula for that later. For now, I need to determine whether icon widths and icon height should be added or subtracted from x1 and y1 in order to get to y2 and x2. So here, for now, let's pretend we're only dealing with situations where x1 is lower than x2 and y1 is always higher than x2 or less negative than y2. So we would do otherwise. So we're adding a waypoint that for now it's completely bogus, but that's fine. Icon width and y1. So for now, let's not worry about the idiomatic drakon, meaning this line will be diagonal. So we're adding a waypoint. That should show us some interesting results. So obviously, this will also produce taken coordinates. So they will right. Let's see what this renders. All right, so this renders something very interesting. So we do not have a situation where the icons are already connected, because that would be illegal. We always have a situation where x1 and x2 are not in the same place, and y1 and y2 are not in the same place. So while this looks kind of crazy, it does make sense to a degree. Say, see icon 5? We go, instead of down below, we go to the right and down, and back to this first dependent, and we go also right and down to that weird shifted location, and to the second dependent. So you can see we did have two connections, they were just overlapping. So first of all, let's break the problem down and deal with the situation where x1 and x2 are equal, but y1 is higher than y2. Okay. These conditions will turn into something completely crazy, but I don't mind for now. Again, we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for a drakon idiomatic connection. So if x1 and x2 are the same, there's no need to modify their distances. We produce something like this. So this should work. For connections that are vertical. And now we would also have to do this as many times as there are units of movement, meaning icon height, icon width, between y1 and y2. So technically, the unit of movement in that case is just icon height. But for now, this is good. Ooh, okay. We're already dealing with something better. Now, again, just a reminder, we're not solving the overlapping connections right now. We're solving the problem of how to record that a line is going through a pair of coordinates. So this is why I'm not letting the renderer just draw a line from A to B. I want to draw the line myself by recording which pairs of coordinates were occupied. So that I can detect a clash later. Now, repeat. And just before we wrap up for today, let's consider another example where x1 is lower than x2, and also y1 is higher than y2. So in that case, let's get a little bit closer to idiomatic drakon, and let's produce 2 waypoints instead of 1. That should give us a flavor of what correctly rendered diagram could look like. Okay, so see, this is what we rendered, and this, and this. What we want to achieve is keep going in the alongside the y-axis until the x-axis until we reach the x coordinate of high-low icon 4, and then start subtracting icon heights from the y coordinate. Okay, I think we can do that, but for now, time to wrap this up. I thank you very much for your patience and for sticking with me. Now the rendering really gets interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. Right, have a good day.